Hello, Powerhouse Smart friends and colleagues. We're here again for another fabulous episode of the PowerHouse Cool Collabs podcast, created so that I could share my very near and dear network with all of you and their incredible stories. So, just a quick reminder, this is a commutable podcast, so it'll be about 20 minutes. We could take much longer with fabulous guests like today, but we're going to make it short and sweet, and then there'll be lots of ways you can connect with her after. And then the three pillars under the podcast are bringing you cool leaders in our industry, and people that believe in collaboration, like my dear friend today, and then living and giving with an attitude of gratitude, and finally all of us with this generosity of giving back to help humanity. So I like to give my guests, and today I have a very dear and special guest who I call my soul sister. We have the same last name, but we are not related, although we are connected. And so I let her do her interview, her introduction, her story. So please, Elizabeth, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you,
Please.
Wendy. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you. I've been following everything you've been doing, and it's so motivating for me and everyone in our sphere. Uh, my name is Elizabeth Cohen. I've been in the interior design industry for the last 20 plus years, but I've worked longer than that. I started in the apparel industry, grew up in a family business, not really the most unique story, a very classic story. My family had a couple of stores, and I grew up every day after school going to the store, seeing my family work, my grandmother, my dad, my uncle, and really just grew up in this wonderful environment. We had a great group of people that worked with us. And I think I just inherited a quiet drive to do well. So I've always either run a business, I owned my own firm for a period of time. I've always worked, and now as I'm approaching my third act, I still plan to work. I don't really see retirement in my future. I like to work. So I'm just plotting out how that will be. I don't think it'll even be slowing down. I think it's just going to be working differently. So I plan to start doing some consulting for small businesses in the weeks and months ahead.
Wow, wow, wow. So first of all, you're so, humble, and you are, in my mind, someone that I follow and I listen to your wisdom. And I always am so grateful that I have this connection with you where I get to just reach out and connect with you and ask you, what do you think? Can you give me your feedback here? You are such a brilliant mind. So that family background of going into the store, I don't know. You said that it was, oh, just you kind of by osmosis kind of picked up. I don't know. I think you were born with a gift, my dear. So before we get too further along into, I have so many questions for you. I want you to share how you first started, and really fashion has a lot to do with design, how you got into the fashion world, and then all of a sudden you realized, hey, I can do this and help other companies grow, which is what you do with your entrepreneurism and background. So please share a little bit about fashion and into growing companies in
Yes,
design.
happy to do it. My family did have clothing stores, so from the earliest age, I loved fashion and apparel, and still do. All these years later, it's something that I absolutely adore. So after college, I left Minnesota and I moved to San Francisco. I was really interested in working for someone in the high-end fashion world. I didn't come from that. I grew up in the Midwest. We had a very moderately priced business, but I was curious to know about the other side. So I joined Saks Fifth Avenue after college and sort of followed the route through management and buying and things like that. Left San Francisco, worked in Paris for some time, which was really fantastic. Uh, one French boyfriend, led to a really beautiful career in Paris, which was great. It's a time in my life I will never regret. And I really learned a whole nother side of the business, a whole other, the wholesale and all of it. Decided to move back to the States. I was really close to my dad, who was so inspirational to me. And in whatever good traits I have, I inherited from him. But I wanted to come back, and I did. I worked in Chicago for a period of time, a city we both love. And then I moved back to Minneapolis to be near my family and started working in the interior design field for a retailer who had a design studio. And really, it was eye-opening. I loved it from the very first moment. Everything about that business, from the accessories to buying furniture to how designers worked with clients, I loved it.
Mhm.
So I think without much planning, I followed some windy path and ended up um, really loving the industry. I subsequently had a bigger job where I worked for a large corporation and ran their design studios, and then found my way to my own firm with a couple of partners, which was probably the most wonderful experience I had ever had. Um, yeah, I really, really loved it. We did go through the recession, the 2007 and 8, and our business did not survive, which was really, it was heartbreaking. But I think, as any successful entrepreneur would tell you, those are important lessons. And I think, although it was the most favorite thing I've ever done, it really helped me understand that I can still have that feeling working for others and helping them grow their business, because of how you feel as you're building something or working with others, mentoring, managing, whatever those things are. Those are the same emotions that come, whether it's your own or it just comes from satisfaction of a job well done.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, and that's what makes you so special and unique, Elizabeth. You know, it's hard to find people that would treat your business as if it were your own, and that's what you've done, at least in your most recent, which I want you to share with Studio M and what you've done with them, because that's how I first met you. I mean, you really do treat your clients, and in that case your client, you were there full time, and now you'll be able to offer that same talent and experience to your consulting clients, which we'll get into in a second. But I mean, that's a special trait about you, Elizabeth. And so you are, understated in your accomplishments, but I know that you are this huge, source of wealth and gold and help and spirit and just wanting to help others. So share with us how you joined Studio M and where did you take it, and that in itself could be a whole podcast.
Yeah, it was really, I was very fortunate. After my firm closed, I was, down about that for sure. And someone connected me to the owner of this firm, and they started out a big building in Minneapolis with four or five design, three or four, maybe five designers, but there were no processes in place. Everyone was confused. Structure really is important. It's not very sexy for sure, but it's important so the team isn't frustrated. So there were just, I almost had a blank slate, which is the most advantageous position to be in ever, right?
Mhm.
So I was able to come up with, policies for us, and assessing the team, making changes where necessary, working on marketing, and how can we really let our city and region know who this business is and what we're made of and what we can do. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. So with some steady growth and success, I had more free the I had as much free reign as imaginable, really. So I'll forever be so grateful to the owners for that. But I think the unique position that I was in was, the owners are interior designers and very talented. I am not an interior designer. I would never try to be an interior designer, but I really like the other side. So I was able to do all the things that they didn't want to do, or certainly didn't have time to do. So they could focus on clients and I could build a business
Back
from
end.
behind the scenes. So I think that was the formula for success. So um, we went from, not a lot of sales to a lot of sales over the last many years. And we have Studio M has an excellent reputation. We work all over the country and all over the region. We have very talented people. We recently moved after the business had hit, big milestone with sales, and we were in a large building, and it made sense to make an adjustment and move to a smaller space. We didn't need the overhead. We really wanted to cement our own personality in the studio and just with the business, going forward. So we've done it. Everybody's really happy. And yeah, it's been a great, great experience for the last 12 or 14 years.
So just a couple golden nuggets I got out of that is one, first, your open mindedness to go from fashion to interior design, just practicing and all these skills and innate abilities you had. And then for those lessons for those listening, if you're willing to bring on somebody who has heart, like Elizabeth does, who wants to help you grow your business, is to give that person that ability to make those changes. She calls it a clean slate, but you obviously had to build trust with them, and that's so important. But and then let this person be the back end, or even on a consulting side, be there to guide you, because it doesn't happen overnight. And so that's always the hardest part, is that people always feel like, well, if you're going to help me, how long before I have to take over from my own stance. So the size, and how long have you been at Studio M? When you started, how many designers were there, and where are they now? And then let's get into what will you do with Studio M as you move forward
Yes.
on your third journey.
Right. When I started, I believe there were, aside from the owners, there were probably 3 other designers, so 6. But again, it wasn't, easy. It wasn't clear exactly what we did to the studio itself or the public, so there needed to be some straightening around, but none of that would have been possible had the owners not been really open to, uh, allowing me, or whoever it might have been, but it happened to be me, happily, to take the business and go with it.
Mhm.
That was 14 years ago.
Okay.
Today we have more than 25 employees. We have 2 locations. We have a location in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which is lovely. Um, and Minnesota is the big sister. And we're looking at potentially another location down the line. So that's really exciting growth. And we know who we are. We know who our clients are. It's just, I think the culture has um, been established through a lot of good work, certainly hard work too, but a willingness to, let us be who we want to be, get the right people in the right position,
Right.
doing the right thing. There are other like celebrated theories about that, EOS and all of it, but it is um, at the risk of oversimplifying, you do want the right people who enjoy their job, want to see success, but are willing to utilize the support that may exist. So I think our business, the last thing I'll say about that, might also benefit from having someone that's not a designer, be a sounding board,
Yes.
um, be the liaison sometimes between a vendor and the designer, or a designer and a client. It's just nice to have an outside perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, just because you own a design firm, doesn't mean you're necessarily a business person and you have an understanding of a P&L and profitability and systems and procedures, which is what you've brought to them, and which is amazing. And obviously, they're incredibly grateful to you. So now I'm so thrilled. And since you and I have known each other now for several years, I've been watching you and saying, you should share that with other people, how, lucky it is that you found Studio M, but there's a whole bunch of people out there who are watching this who can't wait. And I know you're only one person, so you're going to have to be selective on who you take on as clients. But tell us about how this consulting thing journey is going to unveil itself.
Well, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I certainly am approaching an age where people do retire, and again, that's not on my list at all. So I was thinking about what would be important to me. And truly, the most important thing to me is to have independence and flexibility while still working. Again, I don't have any plan to slow down, but what I know that I love is change, and I like challenge also. I really find that very energizing, and I think many people do. I think sometimes change gets a bad rap, like, I'm afraid of change. It's a great thing. I love it.
Yeah.
So as I've been thinking about it, I owe the studio I work for a lot and will remain working with them for the next, many months for sure and beyond.
Yeah.
But I will start taking on new clients. And just with that thought about how can I either help a new entrepreneur that's starting a business or even someone that might have been in business for a while but feels a little bit stuck. So I think I have things to offer after all this time. It just compounds and you become wiser. So I think that would just be it'll be heaven for me to work that way independently, but around in and around a business that I really know and love. It's not to say I wouldn't help a small business doing something outside of our industry, but there's some satisfaction truly in just having a full grasp of the business you're running.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So, for people who are watching this, Elizabeth, how is it that they can learn more about you? And of course, like I said, there's probably going to be a flood of interest, and you have to be selective, and that's okay. But life goes on, and you're never going to retire. I'm never going to retire. Because we
I
love what
agree.
we do. It's not work when you
Yeah.
love what you do. So giving back is a part of who you are. And even though it's, some people do it through nonprofit work, and we both do that too. But work is not work. It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
So how can they reach you? What would you want? What would you expect from somebody who's listening to this who says, I gotta call Elizabeth now?
Well, that's so exciting. First of all, thank you, and please do call me. I've truly hung up my shingle about 2 weeks ago. I've been thinking about it for a while, of course. I am still got uh, working with Studio M, which will go on for a period of time. So I would love to talk to anyone that might be interested. And it isn't even, you can contact me if you just want to talk about your business or have questions. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to engage in a contract right away. I'd be happy to talk to anyone about their business. I do have a website. I don't know if we post that later if you want me to.
Absolutely.
Yep,
What's the URL?
it's EC, Elizabeth
Okay.
Cohen, EC Consulting Ltd.com.
Perfect. Okay, that's excellent. And not only that, Elizabeth has honored me and is going to be a moderator speaker at the Chicago, the Ninth Luxury Conference at the Merchandise Mart on November 5th. And of course, she'll be there the night before for the VIP speaker and sponsor event. And she is so open minded and so generous with her time and wisdom that I feel very comfortable that if you do want to reach out to her either person to person at that event or any other way, she will do her very best to get back to you quickly. But Elizabeth, you and we have so many other synchronicities that I'm so honored and proud to, talk about and share with people. I do think that you branching out and opening your own consulting group, division, whatever, company is going to be a way for you to kind of be able to sew that single thread that we talked about giving back. So, share with us some of the things that you and I are working on together about giving back and really your philosophy about life. I'd love to hear that.
Well, I think again, with age comes wisdom, right? I mean, again, it's not the most original, but it couldn't be more true. I think the thing that I can offer to others are many of the things that I've learned along the way, and I really enjoy that. I really think that um, there's general natural enthusiasm and openness
Mhm.
that come with building something,
Yes.
right? You start to see success, and you want more. You want to learn how to grow something and continue on the path. I think having been down several of those roads in various roles, um, allows me to be able to talk someone through some of those things. So I think I can give back just through the experience and wisdom that you do acquire layer by layer over time.
Right. And
Uh,
you've
I
taught
don't
me.
know. Well,
Go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
with respect to nonprofits and things like that, I think I do want to just say hats off to you, Wendy. I love everything that you do. And we recently had this incredibly special trip to Africa. We're running a little event in the studio next week to share some of the stories and things like that that we experienced on the trip, and hope to get other people interested in attending, because people say a trip like that changes you, but I didn't know what that meant. I still don't really know what it means, but I just know that since I've come back, I have never felt as happy and optimistic, I guess. It's a little challenging to say optimistic right now in the the sense of what's going on, but um, they're just what something about that trip connected to the people. When someone comes back from a trip like that, you talk about they may talk about the sights or the animals, but for me, and I know many of us that were on the trip, we're talking about the people we met. So I think all of it is that common thread. We're sharing wisdom through experience, and also now giving back through experiences such as this.
Wow. So I'm just going to give a little deeper dive for all of you. So we had the Powerhouse Smart Africa Impact trip that we just went on this last August, and Elizabeth's just describing it beautifully. I mean, we were in tears, right? Like there was so,
Every day.
yeah, I mean, just so it was all of those emotions and feelings, and just knowing that you were doing something more than you're beyond yourself. You were part of something bigger. So we're going to, and with Elizabeth's help, and I want to hear about what you're doing in the studio in Minnesota, because I did remember you were doing that, but I think we should share that with everyone here. But at the luxury conference, we're going to announce with Elizabeth's help that we're going to really kind of wrap our arms around a charity in Victoria Falls called Wild Hope. But there were 3 or 4 different philanthropic stops that we made. And this is just the beginning. We're also going to put together an Africa Impact trip in the next year and hopefully years to come, because it's not a big event. We had 10 of us, but 12 is kind of the perfect in each group. We could have 2 groups of 12, but so it's really, and it's not everybody, it's a saving up kind of a trip. You
Yeah.
save it, it's a lifetime trip, right? So that's what Elizabeth is talking about. And she and I have been working very closely with our colleagues, Vicki Bachman and some other people that will be at the conference. But so being she's in Minnesota, I'm both in Illinois and Southern California, and now and then in Naples as well. Um, she and Sue Gartner and some of the other people that were on our Africa Impact trip are doing things, which is what we're all supposed to do, is create synergies and ripple. And so tell us about what you're doing next week for sharing.
Well, we came back, and you'll understand this. We came back so emotionally full, right? We were like, our hearts were so incredibly full. Again, the trip was extraordinary. And we really were so moved by the people that we met. We came back and said, we have to share this with our friends, right? So Sue and I work together. She has a receiving warehouse in town that we use. And her husband took fabulous photos among a couple of other folks. So we thought, let's just share this with our friends. If anybody has ever considered going, to Africa. We just have so much we want to tell you because it was emotional. We cried every day. There was just something moving or surprising or wonderful or extraordinary, and nothing was uh, calculated or planned. Just happen. And it's really hard to convey that, right? But we're going to try. So we'll show some images and things like that, and then the nonprofit that we're most connected to is called Revolved. And the team from Revolved will be with us and they'll give a little presentation. They're extraordinary. Um, I've said that I think today, because I just talked to them yesterday, I feel like a better person just being around them. They're doing such good work around the world, not just Zimbabwe, but they're in Ukraine. They're all over. They're young, they're committed, they're the most genuine, just get to it people I've ever known. So I couldn't be happier to just even be around them. So we're going to have a little event. We'll have wine and a presentation, and hopefully we'll convince others to go. Because if I have a chance to tell anyone about this trip, that's the message. Go.
Exactly, exactly. So just to clarify, Revolved is the big over umbrella, arching umbrella with some smaller nonprofit projects. Wild Hope is under the Revolved umbrella. So the Revolve folks and the Wild are the same as the Wild Hope folks that are going
Yeah.
to be coming to the luxury conference. So I'll put some links in the chat below, in the description of today's podcast below. We're not going to, again, we could do a whole podcast just on Revolved and Wild Hope and our Africa trip. It just is, again, we go back to that single thread of giving back. And, it's so fortunate, right, Elizabeth? We get to live this life and we get to inspire people in business and help them grow and help them expand. And what I was going to say when I interrupted you was, you are a perfect person to talk about mentorship, and that's what you've done to grow Studio M, and that's what you're going to do as a consultant, is you're going to share that mentorship, at every level. And some people need a lot of work, some people need a little, some, you're just, it's so obvious that we're meant to be here to do this. And so it's nice that we can involve that in our day to day, which is not work, it's our passion, but it's also being at the position in our lives where we can say, what else can we do?
Yes. Yep. I think that's right. I think that's really true. I think no matter what, whether it's in business or helping a nonprofit or cultivating a relationship, everybody needs a friend or a sounding board or a mentor. And again, that's sort of that common thread that can be woven through everything, right? It's people say it's always about relationships, and it is. So I think we all want to have someone that we can count on to be there for us. And I think that's you for me, Wendy.
Well, I was just going to say the opposite. So if I can just, I always ask at the end one question, and I'll ask that in a second, but I just have to say, I am so blessed that 3 or 4 years ago, I think it's been, that you came to a Chicago luxury conference. That's how I met you. And I feel like, things happen for a reason, and you have touched my life. And from that, you and I together have met more people and touched more people's lives, and we're still out there, like I say, a bumblebee pollinating. And it's just, makes me feel so, I feel love, nothing but overflowing love, and just unconditional anytime, and I know we want to spread that with everyone who's watching this today, right?
Right.
Okay, so everybody, thank you for letting us get a little mushy here, because we are dear friends. But you know what? This is what our world is, and if you can tie your business life and your giving back life and your family life to something bigger, then we've done something really special for you today or for your lifetime. So I always end my podcast with a wonderful deeper question. So I'm going to ask you, Elizabeth, there's so many things I could ask you to expound on that we didn't get to today, but you know, in your, what is your definition of a well-lived life? That would be my good question to
Big
start this.
one. That is such a big one. Um, I think I would say, and I I'm I would say to recognize those moments of pure joy because they don't come around that often, right? But when they do, they're just so big and you just don't want to lose sight of them. It's and I think your life is well lived if you have those moments, whether it's with your family or friends or experiences or however they come to you. Just to be uh, to notice and be grateful because they're really precious.
Right. Oh, beautiful. And so, like you said, those moments of joy, being in the present, recognizing that sometimes we let other things get in our way. So, so beautifully said. And you're a perfect example of that. And together, let's continue to build these amazing connections and relationships and inspiring other people and just spreading that joy and love. So, thank you, my dear friend, for being
Oh,
here.
thank you, Wendy. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everybody, for connect with Elizabeth. You will be so glad you did. Okay. I'm going to
Thank
just,
you.
yeah.